One of my interests in the world is the British and the Brexit. I think the British have been involved with Brexit for quite a while now, for the past few years, and it's been quite an important agenda in Great Britain, with the public and with the government and with the newspapers as well. Brexit has been a very important issue for the British government. So I think Brexit has been a very important issue in Europe with the British. I think they've withdrawn from the European Union, and that obviously creates a different relationship between Britain and Europe, and makes a big difference around the world as well, because I think now that Britain is no longer part of Europe, it's become more of a conservative, isolated island, and it's an isolated island of a country that's separate from the European Union. So I think that's very important. If you look at the history of Brexit and Britain's exit from the European Union, I think it started from Kilroy Silk, the TV presenter. That was a long time ago. And I think he kind of first advocated a principle and a doctrine and an idea that Britain should have its own grounding foundation and principles. And I think Brexit has developed from those ideas. I think that Brexit has built from people like that, and Nigel Farage as well, who've developed on from Kilroy Silk and other people. I think Nigel Farage is a very vocal advocate of British independence and Brexit, and moving away from the European Union and away from Europe, and having a standalone Britain, an independent Britain, a standalone Britain that has its own values without European interference, without European values. It has its own values. So I think Nigel Farage has been quite an important figure in Brexit and Britain's withdrawal from the European Union and from Europe. So I think that's quite important. I think Nigel Farage has vocalised a lot about independence for Britain in a very intelligent way, and I think most of the voice of British independence comes from Nigel Farage. So I think that's quite, I think that he's quite an important person in this. But I think now that we do have Brexit, we have a situation where Britain has withdrawn from most of EU law. We have British criminal law now, British courtroom law. We don't have EU human rights law or humanitarian law. It's kind of British human rights law, and that's very different. It seems to be more severe and fascist. It seems to be more American-like and Protestant rather than European. So I think it's become degraded by 2/3, and it's kind of severe and established as 1/3 British human rights law. So I think that's very severe British human rights law. So I think that's one of the problems of Brexit. But I think that apart from kind of getting rid of all of that EU law and adopting firm, strict British law as a consequence of Brexit. We have a different kind of society and public in Great Britain that have to govern themselves differently with different British laws. So that is a big change for Great Britain and how the public behave. But I think the other considerations is that we have Brexit with a Conservative Party that has been very much adopted by the Conservative Party. So I think Brexit is very much a Conservative Party policy issue. I think it's been their policy issue. I think it's a dominant policy issue for the Conservative Party since they've been in power for the past 12 to 15 years. So I think that's what they've been doing, kind of. They've been involved in Brexit. So that's quite important. But I think that it's a little bit tragic that we've had to kind of deal with the Conservative Party in power and in government. I think if we had the Labour Party, perhaps we could have had a more neutral Britain that could have closer relationships with Europe. But I think unfortunately we do have the Conservative Party that have been in government for a long time, and they've completely changed Britain. So I think Brexit is one of the important issues with the Conservative government. I think that now that the Labour Party are in power, I think Brexit could perhaps I think with the Labour Party in power now, I think Brexit could change a little bit. I think we could have closer relationships with Europe. I think that we could perhaps even see Brexit abolished. I think there's a good chance of that. It's favourable, and there could be a good likelihood of it. So I think that with the Labour government in power, there could be a change in the Brexit position that Great Britain has with Europe, and there could be an easing of relations. I think the Labour Party have made some strong moves and gestures with Europe to kind of create closer ties and things. So I think that the relationship with Europe is changing a little bit with the Labour government now, and that could be positive in the way that Brexit stands in Great Britain. Thank you very much.